Welcome to this Anglo-Omani Society third webinar. In our previous two, we covered the Oman economy and Omani foreign policy. This time, we're looking at the bilateral relationship from the UK perspective. This idea was prompted in part by the reaction of a House of Lords team that I brought to Oman last year, who said that until they'd been, they hadn't realised the really great extent and breadth and depth of the relationship. And so it needs to be better known, particularly after the signature of the comprehensive agreement. And we're extremely fortunate that the people best placed to speak about this from the British side are assembled here with us. Hamish Cowell, our ambassador in Muscat, and his excellent UK team in Oman are joining us. And also Charlie from London as well. It's one of the great developments of the Zoom era that we can do this, although I'm very sad that we can't be doing it at Sackville Street, but there we are. Anyway, thank you very much, all of you, for joining us this afternoon. Before I hand over to Hamish, a couple of procedural points. The webinar will be on the record, and a recording will be available on the Anglo-Omani Society website. And secondly, it's open to you to ask questions. Please use the Q&A function, which I'm sure you all know, on the Zoom system. We'll pick up the questions as we go. We'll run through all the presentations and then dip into Q&A at the end. Now, Hamish, HMA Hamish Cowell, as it says here, needs little introduction. He's previously served in Tehran and Cairo, as well as in London in the Foreign Secretary's office and in the number 10 press office, so well qualified to handle questions. Hamish, Shadi and their family have been in Oman now for 3 years. So he's well up to speed and well qualified to lead this discussion. So over to Hamish.
Thank you very much, Richard, and thank you for this opportunity to participate in a society webinar. I should probably start first by congratulating the Anglo-Omani Society. I have been following the exponential increase in digital activity over the last few months with admiration. It's now quite difficult to keep up with all the products, but it's really impressive. So congratulations to the Society and to Nick for really setting the pace there. So we will try to do our bit to help and contribute to that. I will hand over to the team, to my experts in a second. We have Air Commodore Toby Casebury-Craig, who is going to talk about the defence relationship, which is particularly topical given that we had our Defence Secretary here last week for 2 days. A very good visit, which included meetings in Muscat, a trip to Masandam and to Dukum. We have Helen Mehta from the Director of the British Council, who could talk about the educational and cultural aspects of the bilateral relationship. Gareth Stevens, our DIT Country Director, will talk about trade and investment and how we're managing to do trade promotion in the age of COVID. And we have my deputy, James Goldman, Deputy Head of Mission, who will talk a bit about some of our programme work. And we hope that he will be joined by Charlie Sammet, who is formerly our political counsellor here and who has been leading work on one of the exciting aspects of our bilateral cooperation of late, which is the Oman Digital Hub. So I'll hand over to them in a second, but I just wanted to give perhaps a few overall reflections on the bilateral relationship, which, as Richard said, is an extraordinarily rich and important one. And I think the first obvious thing to say is that, like everywhere else, this, of course, has been a challenging year for Oman. It's been particularly so since the arrival of COVID was followed swiftly by an oil price slump And of course, it was preceded by the terribly sad loss of His late Majesty Sultan Qaboos in January of this year. After the very significant milestones that we achieved together, Oman and the UK last year, not least the comprehensive agreement on enduring friendship and the joint defence agreement, we had hoped that this year would be a year of celebrations, of a golden jubilee, and also of an anniversary of one of the great treaties between our two countries, the Treaty of 1800, known as the Unshook Treaty, which, as I've discussed with Richard and Stuart, it would have been the 220th anniversary in 2020 of that great treaty, which memorably talks about the friendship between Oman and the UK remaining unshook until the end of time, or until the sun and the moon cease their revolving careers. Instead of that, we've had to adjust to new challenges and developments. And I think, just as with the agreement signed last year, the core of our activity has been to demonstrate that that enduring and unshook friendship continues, and that we use it to demonstrate our support for Oman and for His Majesty Sultan Haytham in these challenging times that we're all going through. I think that was demonstrated, I hope, on day one of the condolence ceremonies in January, by the strength and the level of the British delegation that came to Oman, led by His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales, the Prime Minister, the Secretary of State for Defence, the Chief of Defence Staff, amongst others. It was a very strong delegation. It was followed shortly thereafter, just after the mourning period, by a visit by the Foreign Secretary, who had an audience with His Majesty, one of the last audiences before lockdown took place with any foreign visitors. And even though throughout lockdown we have kept up a steady rhythm of calls, virtual meetings, Teams, Microsoft Teams meetings seem to be the thing that we've used most. We had a virtual visit by our Permanent Secretary, the outgoing Permanent Secretary, Sir Simon MacDonald, last month. And then, of course, we had the first physical visit by our Defence Secretary, accompanied by the Prime Minister's advisor, Sir Edward Lister, just last week. So we have kept up the contact and the dialogue. We have kept up a lot of activity on some of the core and key themes. I'd highlight in particular our dialogue on economic issues and how we are deepening that to support His Majesty's economic agenda. Vision 2040 is a cornerstone of both what Oman is hoping to achieve in the coming years and how we are going to try and support them. And Charlie, when he comes on, will talk about the UK-Oman Digital Hub in that respect. We've also been keeping, through the British Council, keeping the Alumni Association active. It's a rapidly growing and very dynamic body, and Helen will talk to you a bit about that. And our DIT team has been holding their own series of webinars, which I hope some of you may have seen. So despite COVID, we've been active over recent months looking for opportunities to develop the relationship in new areas and consolidate it in more established ones. And I will hand over now to the team to tell you about all that in more depth. And I think we will start with Toby.
Thank you, Hamish, and hello to all of you, and absolutely delighted to be joining you today. I've been in post as the Defence Attaché for only 3 months now, but I've just finished 5 years as the Senior British Loan Service Officer representing the Royal Air Force and a close advisor to the Commander of the Royal Air Force over Oman. So I know something about the country, its people and defence, but I do not profess, I have to say, to know everything. And I've been asked to say a few words about the defence relationship, which is strong, up and centre, and driven, as Hamish just said, by the late Sultan Qaboos, who saw it through from the Dhofar War period up until exercise Safe Syria 3, 2000, which was in 2018 and beyond, more of which later. And in the next 6 or 7 minutes, I'll outline the result of that close cooperation. So Safe Syria 3, as many of you know, was the catalyst in the deepening defence relationship, with 5,500 British troops, 70 to 80,000 Omanis from cross-government taking part in the autumn of 2018, exercising in and over and around Oman, and I have to say jealously watched by the neighbouring countries. It was a big statement of intent and the largest exercise in Oman for 17 years. It resulted in the signing of the Joint Defence Agreement in 2019, which in very broad terms sets out the cooperation and working with the two countries in areas that include governance, exercises and training, and in doing so developing a joint approach where practicable. For exercising in Oman, sadly this year due to COVID, the majority of the exercises have been cancelled or postponed, but I'm pleased to say that a full programme of activity is planned for 2021 in the land, maritime and air environments, and hopefully Omani Sultan's Armed Forces will come to the UK to exercise in the not too distant future. A few words on training, if I may, and in Oman that usually takes the form of short-term training teams travelling to Oman in a variety of guises to develop Omani skill sets and build capacity for the future. They have in the past ranged from high-end military techniques to the softer engagement, such as the development of Omani military bands. In the UK, Oman sends Sultan Armed Forces personnel to train in institutions, and UK training is still very high on demand. Officer training takes place at Sandhurst, Dartmouth and Cranwell, the centres for UK military officer training. And I'm delighted to say that this year an Omani officer cadet won the International Sword for the best overseas student at the most recent graduation, and he was presented with the sword by the Secretary of State for Defence. Oman also sends students on other development courses, Advanced Commander Staff course at Shrivenham, and the Royal College of Defence Studies, of course, in London. And, of course, other training courses, much sought after, attended by Omani service personnel. So what's new in Oman? Well, as Hamish said, quite a lot, actually. The new Sultan has, of course, brought change. In defence, the Minister responsible for Defence Affairs, Saeed Badr, who'd been in post for at least 18 years, was replaced by His Highness Saeed Shihab, who is the Sultan's brother and ex-commander of Royal Navy of Oman, so no stranger to defence. And as the Deputy Prime Minister for Defence Affairs, he already has a long-standing relationship with the UK, having been schooled in the UK and a regular visitor to the UK and children being educated in the UK. So a friend already to us. He has instigated a defence review, which is probably needed and has been exacerbated by the economic pressures that Hamish outlined and compounded by COVID. UK personnel are supporting that review with lessons from the UK experience from our many reviews over time. And indeed, the UK is going through its own integrated defence and security review at present. And there are lessons to share. Oman has already started and has directed all government departments to make cuts in manpower by retiring many of their long-serving senior military personnel. We're lucky, as Hamish said, to have had the Secretary of State Defence, the Right Honourable Ben Wallace MP, visit Oman last week, here to develop the defence relationship and form relationships with his counterparts. This was my first as the defence attaché, and as the rest of the team in the embassy will attest, the task was a challenge and a lot of work. But I have to say that it was a resounding success. As well as office calls with the Minister of Royal Office, General Al-Numani, he had calls with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Saeed Badr, and the Deputy Prime Minister for Defence Affairs, Said al-Shahab, the 90-minute call lasting more than an hour and a half. And the Secretary of State also visited Muscat and travelled to Duqm. And I want to say a little bit more about Duqm, which is an important new development for Oman, with a new refinery, which will be referred to, I'm sure, by Gareth later, being built, and a massive port with incredible capacity, and a new city eventually. From a military perspective, this is the unique opportunities afforded by having a seaport, an airport, and a large new land training area are exciting and have not been missed by our Secretary of State during his visit. He is keen to expand the UK military footprint in the UK, in Oman, and utilise the port for the Royal Navy, as it can accept our largest ships, including the 2 new aircraft carriers. Plus, the land training area, called Ras Madraka, offers exciting opportunities for land, sea and air training. Indeed, the Secretary of State announced a £23.8 million expansion of the Joint Logistics Support Base at Duqm that was originally set up for exercise Safe Syria 3, and this facility will enable more land-focused training in Oman in the future. And finally, I want to say a few words about people that I have supporting me and the military footprint in Oman. I have a core defence team of 6, which comprises 4 military and 2 locally employed civilians, plus the Duqm office, a team of 3 led by a full army colonel who are here to develop the Duqm project that I described earlier. We also have nearly 90 loan service personnel, commanded by a Major General. They are spread across all the Sultan's armed forces and deliver a broad spectrum of tasks ranging from direct leadership to providing advice as required to His Majesty the Sultan and to his commanders. They are able to influence at all levels and continue to develop the Sultan's armed forces. And on loan service, I just wanted to say a few words about what we call reverse loan service. So these are Omani officers embedded in British military units since 2018, and an exact mirror of the UK presence in Oman, but on a slightly smaller scale. There are currently 6 Omani officers in the UK, rising hopefully to 8 next year. So the future is bright under Sultan Haytham, despite the economic and COVID challenges in the defence arena, and the defence relationship between the 2 countries is extremely strong. There's no sign of any change of direction, which is excellent news. The UK will continue to work hard at the relationship, as evidenced by Secretary of State for Defence's visit, which is the first since COVID, and it was a great success, as I said. I'm looking forward greatly to my 3 years in this post, living and working in this amazing and beautiful country. Thank you very much.
Toby, thank you very much. And I think we're going to Helen now. So Helen, if you're there.
Yes, I am. So first of all, good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here. Thank you, Nick, for inviting me to speak today as part of this panel. I don't know how many on the call already know about the British Council, but I'll just say a little bit. I'll start by saying a little bit about what the British Council does and what its purpose is before I go specifically into our relationship in Oman. I've been in Oman for just about 2 years now, just over 2 years. It's a fantastic country. I'm really enjoying my time here. But as others have already indicated, it's been a period of great change. So, the British Council's main purpose is to build connections, understanding and trust between people in the UK and other countries through arts and culture, education and the English language. A lot of you may already know we work all over the world in over 115 countries, and last year we reached 80 million people directly and over 790 million people overall, including 100 million learners and teachers of English online. I thought that was worth mentioning in the current context. We were established in Oman in 1972. And over the years, thousands both in Oman and the UK, have benefited from learning opportunities and intercultural experiences. At the moment, we've got quite a diverse team of Omanis and expatriates, of around 70 people at the moment, running innovative programs across our core areas to support Oman's 2040 vision. As an essential part of the vision is supporting Oman's young population, our focus is mainly on employability and skills. In education, we create opportunities for people in Oman to achieve their potential in a number of ways. First of all, through access to UK qualifications. Last year, we administered 22,000 UK examinations in Oman, promoting the UK as a high-quality assessment provider and helping people to gain access to trusted qualifications to support their career and study prospects. These included IELTS, which you may have heard of, the world's most popular English language proficiency test for those seeking international education and mobility. It's good to know that demand for our products remains strong, and with clearer guidelines around travel policies and new international visa regulations, such as the new graduate route in the UK, which you may be aware of, we've seen steady interest in Omani students and professionals with aspirations to study and work abroad. The second area I want to focus on in terms of education is access to high-quality English language teaching and learning. And this is key for Omani nationals in terms of them advancing their career or gaining employment as fresh graduates. We do this through our teaching centre in Muscat, and on average we deliver language courses to around 6,500 students a year. And some of those students then go on to achieve promotion or get their first job as a result of improving their English language skills. In addition to the work we do in Muscat, we also work on projects in Omani schools at the request of the Ministry of Education. We've already heard about our presence in Duqm, and Duqm Oil Refinery funded through their CSR programme, funded a project that the British Council delivered last year. But I'd also like to talk about one more recent example. In the school year of 1920, the British Council delivered English language courses and teacher training in 4 schools in Al Worcester and 1 school in Hamra Al Drua as part of Occidental's CSR initiative. The project was designed to promote more effective learning and teaching of English in the participating schools, to increase students' engagement in the formal education process, and to enhance the employability of school leavers, to support the local community by providing them with greater access to the wage economy created by the oil industry. The project reached over 200 students. We also have an Oman, as Hamish mentioned earlier, a very active Oman UK alumni network, which currently has over 1,400 members and was launched in 2016 to promote the UK as a leading destination for study, research, work and business. It does this by building a positive perception of the UK among the next generation of leaders in Oman and by empowering young women graduates and future leaders to play a greater role in society. And finally, in terms of education, I'll mention that we also support the attendance at the Education World Forum, which is an annual event. In January 2020, we supported a delegation to attend this event and arranged a wraparound programme which included meetings with the Department of Education to talk about with the computing policy lead about the curriculum reform that's going on in Oman, and a school visit to Tollgate Primary School, which some of you may know, in East London. I'll move on now to say a little bit about our programme work. So our Gulf Culture and Sport programme creates links between the UK and the Gulf through a wide-ranging portfolio of projects, sharing the best of UK culture and sports to develop deeper engagement and build new skills with young people. Since its launch in 2017, our sports programme aims to increase young people's quality of life and well-being, sharpen leadership skills, and encourage volunteering. It's delivered across the Gulf in partnership with Youth Sports Trust International, which is a UK-based charity. I've got lots of Gulf stats, but I'll talk about Oman specifically. So in 1920, local trainers in Oman trained 150 teachers and 500 young learners in Muscat, Salalah, Ibri and Mahout, with nearly 55% female participants. Empowering young leaders, especially girls from diverse geographical backgrounds, including from rural Oman, through this unique programme, allowed them to take on leadership roles in their schools and communities, organising further sports events for younger students and acting as role models for their communities. In the arts, we build cultural skills for tomorrow's cultural growth, engage new audiences through travelling exhibitions, and catalyse cultural exchange between the UK and Oman. In 2009, we brought a Gulf Festival symposium to Muscat, which gathered leading industry experts and regional decision makers to meet and engage in high-level discussions. I'd like to say a little bit now about our response to COVID-19. In terms of examinations, we had a 2-month period, month and a half period where we stopped delivering exams during the lockdown. And then we resumed in mid-June at reduced capacity, of course, in Muscat only, but we're planning to start delivering in other cities soon. Our Attaché centres at Sultan Qaboos University and Sohar University have also resumed testing. In terms of teaching, within a couple of weeks, very proud to say that we moved all of our teaching centre courses online for adults, for young learners, for corporate courses. And we also moved the Oxy project I referred to earlier online and produced 8 weeks worth of materials for students using Google Classroom. The take-up in Al Worcester was really positive, with around 90% of students joining, which I think is fantastic, and it's an indication of the students' engagement in those areas. Another thing that we did during the lockdown period was to try and support Omani teachers by strengthening teacher networks. So helping teachers adapt to new ways of working. In their shift to remote teaching, British Council launched an initiative designed to establish teacher networks in the region. And attendance and engagement has been really high, with 850 teachers from the country networks logging on for the first 2 sessions already delivered. And this is using materials from our Teaching English website. In line with our self-access to self-help model, we've begun the next phase of our work, which is the development of teacher communities of practice within each country network to promote deeper engagement with our resources. And I'm excited to say that we're hoping that we'll have some Omani teachers at our MENA online conference to celebrate World Teachers' Day on the 10th of October. In terms of programmes, our alumni programme has also moved online, like the Anglo-Omani Society and DIT. And it's now being delivered virtually in terms of a webinar series on topics that are useful and relevant to alumni members, ranging from social entrepreneurship to how to be more employable. Our plan is to continue this digital engagement at least till the end of December. On cultural skills, the British Council, in partnership with UCL, has conducted Gulf-wide research into to map museum and gallery skills needs. All of this was done remotely. 65 museums and galleries participated in a survey, and we had 6 focus groups across the Gulf to validate the survey results. A report will be available in October for anybody interested. In terms of future plans, we will use this report as a baseline to attract partnerships to deliver high quality training based on the local needs. We've also done a festival survey and shared the baseline survey to measure interest and appetite in the Gulf as we seek to create a Gulf UK festivals network. You'll notice that I mention the Gulf a lot, and that's because we, in this current era situation, we feel that it's better to work across Gulf. There are a lot of things in common, and we'll get more participation if we do it Gulf-wide. So that's why I mention Gulf a lot. One exciting arts-related online development I'd like to mention is Making Marks. It's a partnership program, but again, we do a lot of partnership working in Oman between the British Council and the Arab British Centre. It focuses on the development of artists from the UK and the Gulf through international exchange programs, commissions, and opportunities for artistic collaboration. The program consists of 2 digital residencies. The Connect Me summer digital residency paired artists based in the UK with artists based in the Gulf states to create new collaborative work. On the 2nd of September, an online artist talk was held, during which Alexis Maxwell, I don't know if any of you have heard of her, was paired with Rawan Al-Marouki from Oman. And they were joined by their residency mentor, who's the director of Mostyn Gallery in North Wales. So it was a truly international event. They discussed their experience of working together and presented some of the work that they had produced during the residency programme. And finally, just a word on sports. You may think, well, how can a sports programme continue online? Well, we've managed to do this. Since the closure of schools, face-to-face interaction, of course, not possible. Maintaining Momentum webinars were organised in May in partnership with Youth Sport Trust International. Policymakers from across the Gulf shared progress against their agreed sports priorities. They discussed challenges faced during lockdown and possible solutions. And following those webinars, we had a digital campaign, Make Sport Happen, Stay Involved, Stay Active. That was launched in July, and it's been a huge success with children and teachers posting videos of themselves keeping active during lockdown. The future is uncertain, as it is for many of us, but British Council is committed to working with partners to respond to the needs of the Omani government in support of its diversification goal. One thing we are certain about, this will involve more online working and more development of digital skills. Thank you.
Helen, thank you very much, and I hope that gives people a good sense of what is a vital part of a key element of our work, which is the people-to-people and youth engagement activities. So thank you, Helen. I'm going to hand over to Gareth now. I'm conscious that we do need to leave some time for Q&A. So Gareth, if you can run through, and then we'll do a very quick James Charlie session on and trying to get everything done by 1:45-ish, so that we leave some time for Q&A. Over to you, Gareth.
Thank you, Hamish. Challenge accepted. I will speak as quickly as I can. I hope everybody can hear me, and I hope everybody can see me as well, because I struggle a little bit with the lighting in this room, given that I, as with all of my other colleagues, I'm currently working from home. So good afternoon, everybody. So I've been the Department for International Trade's country director for the last 3 years. based out of the embassy here in Muscat. So the Department for International Trade, or DIT, is the successor organisation to UKTI, which many of you will no doubt have come across in the past. And our focus is on promoting British goods and services overseas, such that we can ensure British companies are successful operating in the global economy. So we're a team of 7 people based here in Oman, working across a wide range of sectors to help UK companies win export contracts and to be generally successful operating in Oman. And of course that works in reverse too, by which I mean we work with Omani clients, sponsors and partners and introduce them to the British products and services that they require to make their businesses work. So I'm going to try to focus today on some of the specific benefits of doing business in Oman as I see the market here at the moment, and also some of the ways in which we as DIT are trying to diversify the commercial relationship between our two countries. So when thinking about the question, why Oman, in a commercial sense, there are 4 factors which I think contribute to our assessment, and which I regularly discuss with British companies looking at Oman for the first time. The political context, the economic context, geography, and the strength of our bilateral relationship. And it's all 4 of these factors which come together to make Oman a good place to do business for UK companies in 2020. So those of you who've heard me speak at other webinars in recent times might have heard some of this before, and I apologise for that. But for the benefit of those who haven't, I can just give a very quick overview of those 4 areas. So starting with the political context, as the ambassador, the DA and others have already said, Oman is a politically stable and business-friendly country in what is sometimes a difficult but strategically important region. Second, the economic context. So oil and gas wealth has given prosperity to Oman. Sultan Qaboos led Oman through close to 50 years of development, utilising oil revenue to build up solid national infrastructure with sound education and health systems. Whilst Oman's key economic investment priorities are still in the energy sector, where we have significant UK equity here through BP, Shell and others. The country's main economic goals as of today are set out in the long-term economic diversification strategy, 10 Feed, which aims to create employment for Omanis by way of more private sector jobs and to diversify the economy away from reliance on hydrocarbons. Particularly given the volatile and decreasing price of oil, as we've seen throughout COVID. And 10 Feed aims to do that by developing other sectors of the economy, including manufacturing, mining, logistics, tourism, and fisheries. And I would also add technology to that list, particularly e-commerce, which has really started to take off here for the first time as a consequence of COVID. And you'll be unsurprised to hear that my DIT team is structured around supporting British companies in these core sectors. So moving on to my third point, often overlooked is Oman's unique geography. So the fact that Oman is strategically located at the confluence of the Persian Gulf and the Arabian Sea, close to major Indian Ocean shipping lanes and outside of the Strait of Hormuz, with a largely open ocean coastline, is, I think, hugely advantageous from a commercial perspective. And last but not least, the bilateral relationship between Oman and the UK is particularly close, as you've heard from my colleagues and as many of you on this call will be aware anyway. And that feeds the fact that business ties between the two countries are incredibly strong. The largest source of foreign direct investment into Oman by far still from the UK, at approximately 45% of all FDI per annum on a rolling 12-month basis. And there is a strong appetite in Oman to see more trade with the UK. For context, UK exports to Oman currently stand at roughly £1.2 billion per annum. And the UK's main exports include professional services, machinery and equipment, construction products, education and training, and defence kit. So as I've already alluded to, the UK-Oman commercial relationship is in good shape and is going from strength to strength. British products and services are still sought after and held in high regard here, and British standards are widely used. Until recently, Oman has been very much a traditional Gulf market for the UK, by which I mean defence sales and oil and gas exports have dominated trade flows. However, we're just now starting to see that change. The Omani government's increased focus on economic diversification is beginning to provide strong commercial opportunities for British businesses across a number of other sectors. And to highlight that point, in just the last 2 years, we've supported a range of UK companies to enter Oman for the first time. So Comtech, a leading provider of fibre optic cabling and telecoms products, set up a showroom here to supply the local market. Buckley Engineering have established their regional headquarters in Muscat, as did International Hospitals Group, having won £500 million worth of contracts to build new hospitals in Salalah, Kasab and Suwaik. And Vodafone have also established a local office here, having recently won the competition to operate Oman's third mobile network. These companies have also chosen to invest in Oman, given its proximity to other Gulf markets, the fact it's well connected to all other major cities in the region, and the strong government investment in infrastructure, healthcare and education. When supporting UK companies to enter the market and do business here, a key differentiator available to us is UK Export Finance, with whom we work very closely to ensure that no viable export fails for lack of finance or export credit. UK Export Finance are involved in a number of the projects which I've already mentioned, including the hospitals build through IHG and the oil refinery in Duqm, which Toby referenced earlier. And UK Export Finance's appetite to underwrite and finance projects in Oman remains high. In fact, Hamish and I were delighted to learn that just last week, UK Export Finance increased their market risk appetite for Oman by £1.6 billion, which gives us a lot of new export credit capacity to deploy across exciting and appropriate new projects in the short to medium term, which will help to even further boost UK exports to Oman. I'm conscious that we're really tight for time, so I'm going to wrap up by just saying that in spite of a challenging economic backdrop, I believe this is still a good time to do business in and with Oman. I firmly believe that Oman is a market bursting with opportunities for companies who are prepared to invest the time and effort into understanding local needs and requirements and to build close relationships with both clients and suppliers. So I cut a little bit out at the end there, but I'm conscious that we're tight for time. I'll leave it there for now, Hamish. But happy to pick up any other points in Q&A. Thank you.
Gareth, thank you, and thank you for fitting all of that in. And I completely agree with you on the enormous potential that there is here, and also the great work that UKEF is doing to promote those ties. Charlie is there now. I don't know if James is there. You have a few minutes. Charlie, we can see you. Do you want to kick off? Or James? I can see you too. James, why don't you kick off and then...
James, after you, and I'll come in.
Thank you, Charlie. So thank you, Hamish. I'll just very briefly, because I am conscious of time. So I just want to say, so I'm the deputy in the embassy, and I've been here in a year and a half. And one of the roles I most enjoy is overseeing the projects we deliver in Oman to support, huge swathes of different parts of the relationship here. And these are effectively investments in activity to meet shared UK and Omani objectives. And an excellent example of a new and growing area of focus is the UK-Oman Tech Hub. And that's where we share, I think, mutual prosperity, security, and sort of science and innovation objectives. So it's really kind of a win-win area of collaboration. So what we're going to do is Charlie's going to give a quick overview. So Charlie, you're the sort of the founder and Mr. Tech Hub, is going to give a quick overview of the Tech Hub. And then if we have time, I'd like to just say a few remarks on some of our kind of wider and previous projects and areas of collaboration that have been running over a number of years as well. So Charlie, over to you.
Thanks, James. Yeah, so I'm Charlie Samud. I'm the ex-political councillor in Muscat. I've returned after 3 fantastic years. So best wishes to you all during the time of coronavirus, and I hope things continue to improve. Very quickly, the Tech Hub. This whole initiative came about from my work, part of my role in building national cybersecurity capacity, which hinges on having the right people, right skills, and those people can only emerge from a system which prioritizes the right digital skills in their education and in their economy. And it's a global challenge. It's a challenge for all of us. The UK has exactly the same challenges. It's particularly exacerbated or brought into sharp focus in Oman because 49% of the country are under 24. And, they are youth who are outward looking, they're ambitious, they care about technology. And for them, like for the UK, the future is very much digital. And that's not something to be afraid of. That's ensuring that we can master technology and that we're helping build the right skills in our population to master technology, not be mastered by it. And there's some fantastic initiatives in Oman. And given the kind of, the bias towards youth in the system and some of the initiatives that are already going on, it really felt important to me, James, and to others, that we really concentrate on digital and technology in some of our diplomatic work. It fits very much with strengths in the UK around innovation, our startup ecosystem, research, cybersecurity, technology. So we launched officially a year ago. And we're short on time here, but I'd urge you to go and have a look at our website, which is UK-Oman Digital.com, or our Twitter feed, which is UK-Oman Digital Hub, so you can see some of the things that we're doing. But broadly, we're trying to bring in digital and technology experts from the UK to meet with their partners in Oman and to really, as I said, develop strategic projects, develop enhancements in technology and digital approaches, and hopefully lead on to prosperity and strategic wins as well. So we're working on 4 different work themes across digital government, digital education, digital economy and innovation, and also in cybersecurity. And I think we've had some real successes. We've launched the region's first cybersecurity accelerator that 2 companies came out with venture capital funding. We're working on reshaping the ICT curriculum and co-developing a cybersecurity curriculum for 11 to 18-year-olds. We've launched coding boot camps for a broad range of Omanis, data science challenges. We're working with lots of other incubators and accelerators to help grow and shape young Omani companies. And there's been a huge amount of development in Oman. 5 years ago, there were no technology startups in Oman. There's now 300, and it's only going to get bigger and stronger. We're also looking at doing more in universities around shaping their digital curriculums. We've also just hopefully about to announce the region's first joint cybersecurity PhD program. So we sold to Casebury University and Imperial College. And I think this is really the part of the future for the diplomatic relationship, not just in digital and technology, but between our 2 countries' youths as well. It's been a fantastic 3 years. I'm really sad to leave it, but I'm sad to leave it now because Oman is on the cusp of enormous changes. And that bow wave of youth that are coming through are really driving those technological and digital changes. And it's a very exciting time for the country. So checking on what we're doing. I'm sure Henry Howard, who's my replacement, would love to hear from you. And we're very supportive of trying to get more technology and more expertise into Oman to work with the counterparts. Thank you.
Charlie, thank you. I think, as we said, the Tech Hub is a fantastic example of joint working. I just wanted to, and the future of a lot of the relationship and work we're doing. I wanted to just highlight in the sort of minute or 2 we have left, some of the other work that we've been running for a number of years. So one of the areas we've had, a lot of success and a lot of really successful partnerships over a number of years have been in the justice sector, where we've had a specific focus working with our Omani counterparts on child justice and the issues around organised crime. I won't go into sort of all the detail at the moment, but we've been lots of workshops and expert level discussions, and really beneficial to both sides in terms of sharing knowledge and lessons and having those expert to expert exchanges. And I think we've seen really, tangible changes. And the one area I'd like to highlight is I think, it's excellent news that in this year, so the Kids' Right Index was published for 2020, and Oman has sort of radically moved up the rankings and is the second in the MENA region and 21st globally out of 182 countries. So it's great that we've been working on this journey for a number of years now. And I think, as we continue to look to the future of this work as well as the Tech Hub and many other areas of collaboration, I think the future's really bright. I think there's lots of areas where we can collaborate further on areas of sort of Vision 2040 and on the economic strand and on the tech hub, as well as some of the more traditional areas such as in the justice sector. And then final word from me, I just wanted to say, a lot of this wouldn't happen without the excellent work of colleagues here in the embassy, particularly the projects team who, working with their Omani counterparts, have built up these projects over a number of years. So a big thank you to everyone who's been involved in that. Hamish, that's all from us. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Thank you, Charlie. And I hope that gives at least a flavour of lots of the different activities that we're doing here. I'll hand over to Richard, but just to finish off your point, James, about cooperation with our Omani counterparts and so on is absolutely right. That's absolutely crucial to all that we're doing here. As it is our cooperation with the Omani Embassy in London, with whom we are in all our different ways in very regular contact. I was very happy to see His Excellency Sheikh Abdulaziz here over the summer, and our cooperation with the embassy there is really first class. Richard, we'll hand back to you. We haven't left very much time for questions, I'm afraid, but we'll try and take some now, and others we will be happy to follow up on.
Okay, we'll do the best we can. One immediate question I've had is, would you be prepared, all of you, to give your designations and contact details so that people with questions can get in direct touch with you? We can do that through the Anglo-Omani Society website if you're willing, but I'll leave that with you. I should just add my own small bit on this, that there's also been a lot of parliamentary cooperation, and we've had two, I think, parliamentary delegations in each direction. And had it not been for COVID, that would have been being taken forward with a lot of sort of technical discussions, hopefully with both the upper and lower houses of each parliament. As to questions, here's one that we had some time ago, actually, which probably is best for Helen. She mentioned festivals, and Malik Al-Hinai, now director of the Beit el-Baranda Museum, but in 1989 a prime mover behind Oman with Britain, which featured cultural performances, art exhibitions, bands performing on the streets. So not everything is new. And he asked whether it would be a good idea to think of doing another one of those in future years. He says 2021, but it might take more time than that. So that's the question for starters. Should we deal with that very briefly and then move on?
Yeah, sure. Helen, would you like to?
That's absolutely fine. I think we're open to working with partners in Oman and linking up, experts in the areas of festivals in the UK with their Omani counterparts, and convening that space and that ability to work together. And I think there's a lot of interesting work to be done around festivals and how they are not just how they are envisaged, but also how they're funded, and how they attract sponsorship and so on. There's a lot of work, and that came out of the research that we did. So yeah, interesting proposal. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much for that. For the DA, there's quite a lot of interest in exactly what shape and form the British military presence at Duqm is likely to take in the future. And also whether the defence review that you mentioned is likely to lead into further offset projects and other openings for British military equipment. Again, you may find it difficult to give much detail in the very limited time, but any observations I'm sure would be appreciated.
No, thank you. I think all I can say on Duqm is kind of the enthusiasm shown and the drive by the Secretary of State on his visit will likely lead to an increase in defence activity in that region. But I can't say by what because I do not know. It's not for want of keeping secrets. It's work in progress. And I think the integrated review, defence and security review going on in the UK will form, Duckham will, and the activity in that area will form part of the outcome of that review. So we stand by. Yes, and the second part of the question, again, I'm not ducking it either. It could lead to opportunities. There are certainly some opportunities in some areas that Gareth's already mentioned. Again, I wouldn't like to be more specific for now. Over.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. I think we now move on to Nicholas Armour's question: free trade zones that exist now, and are there plans for more free trade stroke special economic zones in Oman? One for Gareth, I guess.
Gareth, yeah.
Yeah, sure, I can take that. So taking the second part of the question first, because that's the easiest bit to answer. The answer is no. I'm not aware of any particular plans that the Omani government has right now to develop any more or any new special economic zones. The attention and focus is very much on Duckham and getting Duckham right before moving on to other things, which I think is the right way to play this, given the scale of ambition in and around Duckham. That's a sort of serious kind of mega development project for the government, and it makes sense for the focus to be there. In terms of how free trade zones are being developed across Oman more broadly, I think one of the really sort of positive things on that front to come out of the restructuring of the government here a couple of weeks ago was the creation of a new public authority for special economic zones, which is going to be headed up by the now former Commerce Minister, His Excellency Dr. Cdre, who is a really sort of well-placed person to be running that, and that's going to result in all of the various different sort of free trade and economic zones being properly linked up and developed in tandem with each other, which is a significant improvement on what we had before, where each zone was sort of run and operated entirely independently. So getting some jointery across the piece can only be a good thing, and I look forward to working with Dr. Cdre and his team on how the UK can play into supporting that. But joining it up as they have done is a very good way to go. I think that's it.
Okay. On the similar front, what about a post-Brexit UK-Oman trade agreement? Is that in the cards? I don't know whether that's one for the ambassador or for Gareth.
Gareth is the expert. I can chip in, but I think, Gareth, you could kick off on that one.
Yeah, sure. So as things stand at the moment, the UK's policy position on this is very much that we will be looking to negotiate a free trade agreement with the GCC as a whole, not least given that the GCC does still function and operate as a single point of entry customs union. And we are currently doing some initial sort of exploratory work on this, but we're very much looking at a UK-GCC agreement.
Okay. Anything from you, Hamish? Or?
No, I think that covers it off very well.
Okay. Could you tell us what the message we should take away from the Defence Secretary's visit to Musandam is? Why did he go all the way up there?
Well, first of all, Richard, as you will know, Musandam is a fascinating place. It underlines the strategic importance, obviously, of Oman in terms of the Strait of Hormuz. He had an opportunity to see the traffic management system, all of which flows through Omani territorial waters. So it was very good for him to see that. And of late, we have started doing some military exercises up there, joint exercises and so on as well. So there's an obvious defence interest in that. And it is also spectacular scenery, as you will know, Richard.
Well worth a visit. Okay. One last question. Somebody seeking general advice on Oman. I don't know whether all of you could do it or just one or two. What would you recommend as how to read up on Oman before you go if you're coming there on a posting?
Very good question. Who's arrived most recently? James. I'll throw that in your direction while I'm thinking.
Thank you, Hamish. So the most recent book I read, I believe, on Oman was Jeremy Jones' book on Oman. I believe that my colleague Alan Dillon would no doubt like us to mention his book as well on the region, the historical look as well. Those are the two most recent books I've read that have touched on Oman, if that helps.
Okay. Any other offers?
I will offer you one which is close to the heart of the current president of the Anglo-Omani Society and his predecessor, which is Unshook Till the End of Time, which is a history of the Anglo-Omani relationship. And I mentioned in my opening remarks that this year is the 220th anniversary of the Unshook Treaty, from which the title of that book is drawn. So for those with a historical interest in the remarkable relationship between the UK and Oman and its history, then that's not a bad place to start.
Okay, well, I think on that happy note, we'll have to conclude. I would say, too, that anybody envisaging coming to Oman should join the Anglo-Omani Society as a first step. You'll find a wealth of information, advice, helps, and tips from us. I want to thank you, Hamish, very much indeed for leading on this and pulling it all together and persuading your colleagues at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, when no doubt they've got many better things to do, to all come and talk to us. We've had a record turnout for these webinars, and I'm delighted that we've been able to pack in, courtesy to you lot, so much information. It's really been a very, very useful roundup on what's going on at the moment, which is not always easy to access. So thanks to the Zoom system, we've been able to do it. I also want to thank very, very warmly Nick Smith at the London end and the Anglo-Omani Society, and Rachel Renehan in Muscat, and Julie Hanna as well, for all the work that they've put into, along with colleagues in Muscat, to preparing this. And I'm getting messages up here from Sharif El-Farsi, Mahbub Basha, various others, thanking you all very much indeed. So I'll convey those warm thanks to you. And I hope too that we will be able to do a return match with your opposite numbers in UK at some future stage. So thank you all very much indeed. Thank you.
Richard, can I just say thank you to you and echo your thanks to Nick and to Rachel and Julie and all those who were involved in setting this up. And also to thank you as well for all the work that you've been doing on the parliamentary links that you've mentioned, which have been stymied a little bit at the moment by travel, but I know are continuing, and we very much support that and encourage it. Thank you.
We'll be back. And I've got a whole list of Sharky Sultan and Patterson and various others. Anyway, thank you very much indeed, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're now leaving.